All right, so we are back and we are on we're on slide number 15, or slide number 14 rather, the project overview statement. And what's the success criteria? It must answer the question, why do we want to do the project? And you see the second point there, it is essential that they be quantifiable and measurable. And we've been talking about metrics and SMART objectives from day one. They should tell us whether the project is successful or not. Benchmarks are used to establish success criteria, and they always look at things like increase in revenue, decrease in cost, or improvement in services. And that's the essential tree that is that the success of your project is measured by. Increases in revenue, decreases in costs, and what does these three actually, the first two, lend itself to? Increases in revenue, decreases in cost. What does that immediately bring to mind? Increases in revenue, decreases in cost. There's a word. It's not a management jargon word. It's a word generally that we use um, in life and in organizations. What is that word? The growth, no semanticy. That's not the word. Decrease in cost, increase in revenue. When we hear that, we can say increase in outcomes and reduction in inputs. Profit, no, that's not what we're looking for. No Alexis, no Precious. Increase maximum outcomes and less inputs. Anybody else want to make a guess? Efficiency, yes, Alexis. Yes. Efficiency, yes, efficiency. Efficiency is about reducing costs to operate or create and increasing revenue. Efficiency 101, right? And this again speaks to how project management is such a good exercise. It always looks at increasing revenue and increasing your income and decreasing the cost associated to produce that income. Improvement in services and improves generally the competitive advantage of the organization. Competitive advantage, efficiency, quality, innovativeness, customer responsiveness. The building blocks of competitive advantage. And I want you all to remember this, especially for those in community pharmacy management. And it's introduced here in farm admin because it applies to all. But in particular, when we look at competitive advantage, we look at in terms of an entrepreneurial activity or some sort of business activity. So competitive advantage building blocks are efficiency, quality, and when we say quality, we mean high quality, innovativeness, always, and customer responsiveness, your interactions and your dealings with your customers. As we say, Kavita P, you got it correct last time. Your interaction with your customers is your interaction with your customers and your frontline staff. When they close that transaction, we call it, what do I call it? Kavita P, you're not with us this morning. Anyone want to help? What do we call that? Where the magic happens, that's right. That's right, it's where the magic happens. Good. Thanks, Samantha C. All right, so some assumptions and risks with project management structure. Um, Assumptions, you'll have to take assumptions, have assumptions when doing things, when engaging in your project management. There will be risks, of course, associated with anything. Um, and the risks are things that are considered to be out of your control as a project manager. All right? The project overview statement must address these three audiences, and that's your senior management team, your customer, and your project team. And that's what we spoke about earlier in the lecture, in the last hour, where your communication skills need to be done. And when we spoke about first understand, then to be understood. You, as a project manager and part of the project management team, must first understand the material at hand. First, understand what the project is about. Then you can, when you understand this fully, then you can interact with both senior management above and your customer, where your customer lies. And you can communicate with them effectively about what your project is. All right? So you must first understand. And now we're going to touch on the RFP, which is the request for proposal. The request for proposal is developed from the project overview statement. And if you, I don't know if you all would have seen an RFP before. An RFP is a document that organizations use for inviting persons from. So let's just say we have an organization. We send out an RFP externally for companies that are interested in providing a particular service or providing some goods to us. So RFP generally is an external document, right? Um, right. So it's generally an external document. It's not most of the time um, it will never be an internal thing. An RFP usually is external. Only if the firm has exhausted all opportunities internally to solve the problem, then we go to an RFP. Um, so we must be clear when we are putting out an RFP on what needs to be done and what would have caused the problem. Some RFPs also invite persons to find solutions to the problem. So the RFP might be for utilization of a piece of property in a particular area. You can put out an RFP for land developers or entrepreneurs to now take a raw piece of property and come up with an idea to me, the owner of the property, for how it can be developed into something that is revenue making, into something that is useful. And it can be a partnership with the external party, the external organization, and you as the landowner. I'm using this as an example. All right. So total clarity must be given for the need, the opportunity, or the problem that must be addressed. The RFP must be addressing the cause, not the effect. The RFP must have all the legal requirements set: market demand, business need, customers' request, technological advancement, and social need. The RFP should reflect a basic, precise, or concise understanding of what the problem is, the need, or the business opportunity is. So, statement of works, elements of the RFP. We go into some detailed elements of an RFP, and I think here in your package of lecture notes, I saw an RFP in a Word document. So let's open this up one time because you might go through this after. So you have a statement of works, which is the deals with the scope of the project, outlining the tasks and elements, work elements the contractor is required to perform. The RFP must state the customer's requirements. So for example, using the same land example, I must say, I want your proposal to include something that has positive environmental impacts, right? So it must include all of the customer requirements. If a building, for example, things like size, color, quantity, etc., it must be specific attributes, specific specifications. It must state what the contractor is expected to supply and what will not, and what the customer is going to be supplying. It must include all the type of approval. So an RFP is a document that is supposed to be a very complete document that has many elements in it, that is for the potential contractor to look at and evaluate and be able to come up with a solution to the customer's problem that can be mutually beneficial. So remember, an RFP is inviting external persons to bid for a contract or to provide a solution to a problem, and it must have within it, of course, you're solving the problem of the customer or the person who's requesting the RFP, and you as an organization who are providing the solution is also able to generate some sort of income and profit. All right. So RFPs must have schedules, and these RFPs are heavily used in the construction industry, in the healthcare industry as well. You would see it being used. Um, when I remember there was an RFP for information technology services. There were RFPs from the Ministry of Social Development for having the development of the social card. So RFPs are used in all environments. It's heavily used in construction, but it's used in all types of industries to invite persons from the outside that may have capacity, that may have knowledge that your internal organization does not have, and then lend a solution to the problem at a particular cost. So that's essentially what an RFP is and does. So you can go through the slides to get the details. Um, when evaluating an RFP, you want to ensure that your supplier or your contractor has experience with similar projects. And even if they don't have experience with similar projects, what would you look at? If someone is giving you an RF, a proposal, but they don't have experience in that type of project, what can you look at that might be, or what can you as a potential contractor put in your proposal that can help to cushion the fact that you may not have that experience? What can you include in your proposal to a customer for a solution that you don't have experience in? You may have something else that I'm asking for, but you don't have experience in. Think about it. We have a company and we are responding to a request for proposal. We are a new company. We don't have any experience in, let's just say, um, IT, ICT implementation in healthcare. What can we do, or what can we put in our proposals that can still convince or invite the potential customer to look at our proposal? What can we put, guys? Benefits. Yeah, yes, yes, you want to put the benefits, but remember we are saying that as an external person, you don't have the experience, but you still want to be considered by your potential customer. And the answer is you can put the qualifications. Ah, right. That's right, Samantha. See, correct, correct. You can list out in your proposal the team that you have assembled or the collaborative efforts that you have your associates that you have with your company or associated with your company that you all do collaborative projects collaboratively that can now encourage the potential customer to say, okay, they may not have the experience, but they certainly have a list of persons technically competent within this field, and they may be bringing experiences from other companies that they are now in your company. So understand that you may not always have experience in a particular field to respond to an RFP, but you can have technically competent and qualified persons who are bringing in their experiences from other companies, right? So very good, Samantha. I like how you got that one. The the so you must look at the technical approach to see what the contractor knows what he's doing. So that's where the benefits come in there, Vikash. Um, Scheduling and cost. Contractor's proposal must have its approach, must have its deliverables, schedule, experience, staffing, costs. The contractor's response is not necessarily a technical document, but it's really more a marketing document to convince the customer they that they understand what the customer is looking for and they can provide a solution that would be mutually beneficial for not to let the customer know, listen, we can come in and get this project done and it can produce these benefits to you as the customer. The technical component of the contractor's response should have a clear understanding of the problem, outline the approach, how you would go about you'd go about getting the project completed, and the different stages and steps to technically demonstrate the benefits of the customer. So as a manager evaluating such RFPs, you need to always pay attention to the description of the work or task, clearly outline what the deliverables are, and ensure that the proposal you are looking at is actually um, satisfying these deliverables. Look at the project schedule. Does it make sense? Is it within the time frame in which you want it to get done? Look at the project organization, how well the resources will be used within the project, and of course, the related experience, if any, to the contractor. In the cost section of the RFP, be careful and be clear in itemizing your labor. We all know what happens with the costing of project. What's something that's common in Trinidad and Tobago with costing of projects? It's a common feature all over the world, but I think in our country, um, it has been an issue, especially with respect to government contracts. What happens with costing with contracts? Documentation, escalation, and contingency planning. When things don't go as planned, what do we do? What's your contingency planning? What's your plan B? What's your plan C? Guys, nobody's telling me. What's an issue? What's something that happens pretty regular? Overpricing, Jahil. Hmm. Yes, yes. But the overpricing is done in a conspicuous manner, if you understand what I'm saying, Jahil. So you don't normally come out and put a huge price for a project, right? Because if you put a huge price for a project, the customer might be like, "Nah, you too expensive." What ends up happening? So Jahil, you're on the right track, but it's not exactly what I'm looking for. The phrase has the word cost in it. Over budget. Yes, yes, Vikash, but not the exact phrase I'm looking for. It doesn't have any. Yes, actually, it does have over is part of the phrase as well. So it's cost over something, not cost management. But cost management is meant, and the cost overruns. Yes, Jahil, that's what I'm trying to get at. Many projects, especially construction projects, have cost overruns, and cost overruns happen. Very good, Jahil. Cost overruns happen as a result of inflation, as a result of labor issues, as a result, sometimes, and we are saying sometimes deliberately, where you under bid for a contract. And within the RFP, if your RFP is not done properly, you can now leave room in your RFP for the contractor who receives the contract to now add, keep adding, and have some cost overruns in this part, cost overruns in that part, cost overruns in the other part. And at the end, your initial budget for the project may have been $1 million. And at the end of it, with all the cost overruns, your the cost of your project now has become $2 million. I'm just using that as a figure, as an example. So you have to be careful with your RFP to make sure that cost overruns don't happen and cost overruns don't become a runaway horse. All right. So, and that's where your documentation comes in. Things are documented properly and your contractors signed to that effect. It's now going to book them into a certain bracket and time frame and cost in which they can get your project completed. The contractor must consider the following items when determining the price of the proposed project, reliability of the cost estimates, yes. So your cost estimates must include inflation, things like inflation, things like international events, trends. All of these things affect the cost and the pricing of raw material as well as labor. And the um there's a person called a quantity surveyor, and the QS usually is the person that would look at a project's cost and ensure that it is done within market rate, because they would look at all of those things I just mentioned about inflation, international events, trends, and to ensure that that the cost of your project is done within market rates. It's not overpriced and it's not underpriced, because remember, if things are underpriced, then you might look at the quality. All right. Value of the project to the contractor, customer's budget, and competition. Common mistakes in planning for project where you have unilateral planning, where one person alone does all the planning. People don't plan. They say they don't have time to plan. You plan too much, or you plan too little. And failure of plan for risk. Risk, as I said, are things that are out of your control in a project. Risk are things that are out of your control in a project, and you need to plan for that. It may be out of your control, but you need to plan for it. Implementation planning answers the questions: what must be done, who will be doing each task, how long will each task take, the material, supplies, and equipment needed, and how much will each cost. How do you make changes to the project? How is communication and coordination done? How do you monitor and monitoring and evaluation the Taking an example from the plan to check act cycle, looking at your benchmarks. All right, so that's essentially project management um, and RFP. We'll just you can open up the Word document in your package of notes, looking at the RFP, and we can go through here. An RFP was sent out for AV medical supplies and RFP for building and outfitting a pharmacy. And you see there background, scope of work, program management, proposal, process and schedule, evaluation criteria. So the contractor knows in advance what the evaluation criteria is, the format of the proposal that the customer wants. And you see things in the proposal format, the project team, the relevant experience and client reference. So you see relevant experience and client reference where we spoke about you may not have the experience because you may be a new company, but you may be able to get references based on your former professional affiliations, your team members who are now part of your company. They may bring with them that experience as well. Right, and it goes through in detail of what an RFP looks like. So you can look at this in your spare time, and you can see clearly how an RFP is done and how an RFP is evaluated. All right. So that's it there, guys, for project management. We're going to take the break early now. Any questions? Sorry. Questions, queries? When we come back after the break, we're going to come back just around 11 o'clock. We will introduce financial statements. We are now going to get into, am I missing anything here? Right. We're going to start the financial part of management for today. And we have one, two, three more lectures. All right. So any questions, any queries, guys and gals, ladies and gents? No questions, no queries? All right. So we'll take a break now. At 11 a.m. By the way, I noticed, you all not answering questions today. I only have Jahid and Vikash, Samantha C answering. Where the others? Where are my other students? You all not feeling well this morning? Talk to me. When we come back, hopefully we'll have a more interactive session. All right. So I'll see you at 11.